America's pastime has been a part of the Vegas community for over 40 years. And as our city grew, so did the love of the game. Now, excitement is growing for our next home team. All season long, Fox 5 and the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network are covering athletics baseball on the field in our community. As we build our future together, America's pastime will soon call the Valley home. Play ball, Las Vegas. This is Covering the Bases with the A's.
We are nearing All-Star break, and the A's will have two players representing the green and gold at Truist Park in Atlanta. Stud rookie Jacob Wilson and the steady veteran in Brent Rooker. Welcome inside Covering the Bases with the A's, the first Vegas show devoted strictly to athletics baseball. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Let's take a look at the batting order for today's show. We have an exclusive interview with the kid making history, Jacob Wilson. We'll hear from A's insider Jessica Kleinschmidt about how he's doing after taking a hit by pitch Monday. We'll also talk about that explosion on offense in Game 1 against the Braves, and later a trip to the farm with the Aviators. But first, it's official. History is made with Jacob Wilson and the All-Star game. Check this out. Jacob Wilson becomes the first athletics rookie to start an All-Star game, the first rookie shortstop to win a fan election, the youngest athletic to start an All-Star game since Vida Blue in 1971, and the second rookie shortstop to start an All-Star game along with the Orioles' Ron Hansen, who started both All-Star games in 1960. So we have to give big congrats to Jacob Wilson on getting his first All-Star selection. I'm sure there's many more in his future. Here's what Wilson had to say on his first half performance and the All-Star nod.
I think it just goes back to the people you have in your corner, your teammates, your coaches, your family, just being able to talk to them and just being able to learn each and every day. We have the obviously my teammates have been, you're with them every day, you're just talking to them, and they've been, everything to me. And then you obviously have the coaches who, help you from the coaching side, as much as they can. And then be able to have, resources like my family that I can call whenever I need. And, my dad, whenever I need anything baseball-wise, he's always there to talk about it. And, like you have your mom and sisters that you just kind of call and talk about life. They're the biggest support group that you have is your family. So, it's kind of, a lot of thank yous got to be passed along, but, it's definitely not, just me for sure.
Now, Wilson won't be going to Atlanta solo. He'll be joined by the vet, Brent Rooker, who received his second All-Star selection. The 30-year-old is in the midst of another stellar season with 19 homers and 50 RBI as of July 9th, adding to his total with a 2-run jack in the first game versus the Braves. Here's what Rooker had to say about his second All-Star selection.
As far as just kind of steadiness and being the same guy production-wise every day, I feel like I've done a better job of that this year than I have in the previous 2 years. Hopefully I can continue that. I've worked pretty hard to be able to do that, to put together approaches and plans and have a swing that works day in and day out, and doesn't necessarily have to be everything synced up, everything clicking at the right time to have success. So I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that this year, and hopefully it continues for the last 70 games or whatever we have left.
Meanwhile, just days after being named AL Rookie of the Month, Nick Kurtz continues to demonstrate why he's called Clutch Kurtz. Last night, the big man hit his first career grand slam. Let's take a listen to the call.
Here's the 3-2. Speaking of power, enter the chat. Nick Kurtz bangs one to the berm, and we got a grand slam added to a game full of homers.
That grand slam put the A's up 9-0 on the Braves, and of course, they never looked back, winning the first of a 3-game series 10-1. That was Kurtz's 9th homer since his return from injury on June 9th. Now, crazy enough, the player of the game wasn't Kurtz, but instead Lawrence Butler, who had himself a historic night, hitting 2 home runs, one over the fence and another inside the park. Here was the call from Jenny Kavnar and Dallas Braden.
Major League Baseball.
Crazy as that. Lawrence Butler wastes no time, swings at the first pitch. This one deep out to center field, and the berm, it's in play, and It's heading to third. He's going to come home. Here's the throw. It's not going to be there in time. It is a home run. Lawrence Butler with an inside the Parker, and that's an exciting start for the Athletics, up 1-0.
Head first, that's the way to do it. This is where the history comes in, though. Last night, Butler became the first A's player in 82 years to hit a leadoff inside the park home run. Prior to Butler, it was Elmer Vallow who did it way back on June 25th, 1943, and that's just the beginning. The last A's player to hit an inside the park home run and an over-the-fence homer in the same game, well, that was Billy Williams back in August 1975. But here's Butler after the game on his historic performance.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty cool to be, just in A's history, especially because I was drafted by this team and I signed the extension. So, it's pretty cool to be making history with the A's. I actually didn't see the ball as well as the outfielders, so I kind of was just jogging, hoping that it went out. And then I kind of saw it bounce, and then that's kind of when I was like, all right, maybe I got a chance to, get all the way around the bases.
Okay, now get this. The last A's player to hit an inside-the-park home run in general, well, it was Butler's skipper, A's manager Mark Kotsay. Crazy, right? So that was back in Game 2 of the ALDS in Minnesota, October 4th, 2006. When asked about what he remembers about that play, manager Kotsay said he just remembers being exhausted. Lawrence himself laughed when asked about it and said he wants to know who had the faster time around the bases, saying he thinks he has Kotz beat on that one. But the historic nature of this moment just keeps going because just over in the Bay, Giants catcher Patrick Bailey defeated the Phillies with a wild walk-off inside the park home run. For the very first time in Major League Baseball history, a leadoff inside the park home run and a walk-off inside the park home run occurred on the very same day. So exciting stuff there, a historic day in baseball. Now on deck, we're taking you inside the clubhouse. I'm talking with A's insider Jess Kleinschmidt about the All-Star Game nods and the injury update to Jacob Wilson. Then a trip to the farm. Mariah Janos has an update on the Aviators and their slow second half start.
You're watching Covering the Bases with the A's.
All right, so I'm joined now by A's insider Jess Kleinschmidt. Jess, so much to talk about. Let's start with this, the significance of the All-Star Game selections for both Jacob Wilson and Brent Rooker. Talk a little bit about that and what that feels like around the team right now.
Oh gosh, where do I start? And the two best guys couldn't have been picked for the A's to represent them in the All-Star Game. We'll start with Jacob Wilson. Obviously, the numbers speak for themselves. The baseball IQ is certainly there. But when you're in the same sentence as far as your bat-to-ball skills as Tony Gwynn, people are going to pay attention to that. And we already talked about his defense, but the guy pretty much came out of the womb having that fantastic baseball IQ from the defensive end. And of course, his father, who had a very illustrious defensive career himself in the bigs, certainly helped that. And I think for him, seeing him grow over the years too, that was his first interview right when he got drafted. So to see just how much he's matured over time has been great. And of course, it's nice to have the fans vote him in because let's be honest, baseball's more prominent on the East Coast. So for him to get all those votes for a West Coast team is certainly great. And Brent Rooker, of course, is well-deserved, probably more so in 2024. I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. He's a snub from the 2024 All-Star Select. But hey, he's now a two-time All-Star, and rightfully so. The power was certainly there, but I talked to J.P. Sears, Mason Miller, and Michael Kelly all about what Brent did this season. And it's all about that consistency and how poised he is in some of these at-bats. And the guy who is off the field an All-Star as well. And back in 2023, he said during his All-Star stint, during the game, he had no business being there. And now he's not only a representative, but one of the best hitters in the league. And pitchers aren't scared to throw at him. And I think that speaks volumes to what he's been able to do. And he also told me he still wants to have this Ohtani photo signed by Shohei. And it's a time where Ohtani gave up a home run to Brent Rooker. So hopefully Brent can get that signed. But hey, he definitely deserves to be there. So 2023 was certainly the start of it all.
Hey, who could blame him? That's exciting stuff. So, okay, let's go back to Jacob Wilson for a second. He left yesterday's game. How concerned are you about what happened and what went down in the first inning?
definitely less concerned than when I first saw it take place. So we know Jacob Wilson is definitely a tough guy, but for him to exit the game, it kind of makes you stop in your tracks and worry. And at first it was a left wrist contusion, and that's kind of what they're holding on to. And Jacob Wilson talked to us after the game saying there's no concern there. It's a day-to-day situation. The beauty is x-rays did come back negative, and he followed up doubling down saying that nothing was broken. They're going to reevaluate him on Wednesday, and I think it's going to be okay. It's just one of those things when you take a 97-mile-an-hour ball off the wrist, something's going to happen. But all in all, he feels good. He's going to work with trainers, and I think it's good news from now.
She's one of the best. It's A's insider Jess Kleinschmidt. Thanks so much, Jess.
Thanks for having me.
The Aviators delivered in the first half of the season, becoming first-half champs and clinching a playoff spot in addition to home field advantage. But now that they're 2 weeks into the second half, the adversity is starting to set in, and Vegas finds themselves in unfamiliar territory this season, falling to the middle of the pack in the Pacific Coast League standings, mainly in part due to dropping the last series against the OKC Comets, who have had the Aviators number all season long. But let me assure you, the sky is not falling. As I mentioned, Vegas has already clinched, and despite the excitement of that, manager Fran Riordan knows his team can't get ahead of themselves right now.
It's what's in front of us. It's what we have today. And I think that our players have done such a good job of that with all of the transactions and all of the roster shifting. You have to have that mentality. There's no looking forward to the playoffs. There's what we have today, and we're going to put our best foot forward.
The Aviators have the opportunity to reclaim the top spot in the standings with this current series against El Paso before going on a much-needed 4-day break.
All right, next, Kevin Bollinger goes one-on-one with Jacob Wilson. Don't miss this exclusive conversation.
And before we hit a break, let's get in a little trivia. By now, if you've been tuning into our Green and Gold Throwback Series, you know about Connie Mack. That's the A's legendary manager over the first 50 seasons that the team existed. Now, he always tried to set an example for his players, but sometimes managers can get feisty. So with that in mind, over those 50 years he spent with the A's, how many times did Connie Mack get ejected by a manager? Was it 0, 70, 100, or 162? We got the answer after the break.
You're watching Covering the Bases with the A's.
All right, we're back with an answer to the question. Out of the 7,500 games Connie Mack managed the Athletics, how many times was he ejected? The answer is actually 0. He was ejected once for the Pirates back in the 1890s, but never after that, and never with the A's. That 162, by the way, that was Bobby Cox, the longtime Braves manager. Now, Mack was well known for his calm demeanor. He was never rattled, always spoke very softly. He had a strict code of conduct for his players and clearly set an example by following those rules himself. A lot of success came out of that philosophy. 9 pennants, 5 World Series rings. He's second all-time in both those categories. Now, by 1914, the A's are the most successful team in baseball, thanks in large part to Mack. At that point, nobody had won more pennants or World Series than the A's out of all major league teams. Nothing like that lasts forever, though. And the way this run of dominance ended was actually unlike anything before or since. After getting swept in stunning fashion in the 1914 World Series, the A's realized their problems were just beginning. The upstart Federal League had not taken many players from the A's, but the increased salaries they offered made it so major league teams had to pay up to keep their players in the fold. Add that to the fact that the A's success over the last half-decade meant players were expecting raises anyway, and Connie Mack, the team's owner and manager, who had no income outside of baseball, threw in the towel. 4 future Hall of Famers left the team. Reigning MVP Eddie Collins was sold to the White Sox for $50 grand. Home Run Baker sat out the entire 1915 season over a contract dispute and was sold to the Yankees for $35,000 the next year. Finally, star pitchers Eddie Plank and Charles Bender left for the Federal League. Mack replaced those legends of the game with a bunch of young, unproven talent, giving so many guys a shot. 54 Athletics had an at-bat that year, mostly teenagers and guys in their early 20s, but not many of them were ready for the majors, with the team finishing in last place in 1915. Then again, in 1916, playing to mostly empty stands with an all-time low .235 winning percentage. They'd finish in last place every year for the rest of the decade and twice more to start the next. In all, perhaps the starkest and darkest turnaround in league history, going from packing the ballpark and winning 4 pennants and 3 World Series in 5 years to 7 straight years in the cellar.
Okay, that was pretty depressing, but so is baseball sometimes, and the thing that keeps us coming back is hope. And that is exactly what was on the horizon for the A's as the mid-20s approached and a new young core emerged. I'm going to tell you about that team next week on Green and Gold Throwback. For now, Mike, to you.
Well, as if you couldn't get enough of Jacob Wilson, we got even more Wilson action for you. Kevin Bollinger recently caught up with the rookie all-star shortstop. Let's take a look.
0-2 pitch back up the middle, a base hit. Wilson does it again. The savior in Sacramento.
May 5th in Sacramento, Jacob Wilson had a walk-off single in the 11th inning to give the A's a win against Seattle. But it was his at-bat the inning before that showed just how special Wilson is.
First pitch to Wilson is grounded through for a base hit.
Down a run in the 10th with a runner on second and nobody out, Wilson made sure to put the ball on the right side. He found a hole and brought home the tying run that allowed for his heroics in the 11th. Wilson hits to all fields and is as good of a situational hitter as there is in the game.
How would you describe the art of hitting according to Jacob Wilson?
Yeah, for me it's just being able to stay on time and kind of try to stay up the middle. Try to hit everything up the middle for me is kind of been my thing. If you can stay up the middle, you can hit the the sliders away and you can hit the fastballs in, and you can kind of reach majority of the pitches. So for me it's just being able to be on time, be early, and stay up the middle.
And Jacob Wilson drives her in the left. Jacob Wilson strikes green and gold in Sacramento.
Wilson credits the 28 games he played with the A's last season as helping him settle in so quickly this season.
It's honestly huge to be able to get those games out of the way, just be able to kind of come up here. It's hard to adjust to this game at this level, facing the best pitchers in the world, play against the best hitters in the world. So just be able to kind of get a little bit under my feet a little bit to see what it's like, how the atmosphere plays, how the stadiums, the crowds, kind of how it feels kind of being in that spotlight is definitely a little different than what you've played in the past. But like you said, kind of get used to it, be able to get your feet underneath yourself a little bit, and it definitely carried over to this year.
Wilson is no stranger to big league ballparks. His dad played 12 years for 3 teams. That allowed for some extra comfort when Wilson was called up to the A's because there was a little familiarity.
It's obviously different as a player, but growing up in big league stadiums is a little different lifestyle than an average kid, and being able to not be too unfamiliar with the atmosphere is something that I thought was pretty cool for me. So be able to play here just like my dad did is it's obviously was my main goal to get here in my baseball career.
When his dad retired, he became Jacob's coach at Thousand Oaks High School, where Jacob was teammates with another budding superstar, Max Muncy. Now his teammate once again with the A's.
It feels like yesterday that we were there playing in high school together, and just be able to say we were doing it in the big leagues for the same teams, obviously a pretty special moment for us to be able to look over there for the first time in Seattle and see that we were up the middle again. So it was a pretty cool feeling to be able to play with the guy you played with in high school also in the big league, so it was awesome.
While Wilson eyes a possible American League Rookie of the Year award this season, he's also eyeing what's ahead in 2028, when he'll be a foundational piece of the new era of the A's.
I mean, it's definitely down the road a little bit, but I'm excited to see how the stadium turns out. Obviously, with the city and how many people show up. We've been to a couple Knights games, and just being this, kind of seeing how the fans showed up for them. It's kind of cool to see how much they like their sports. So we're excited to be there. Excited to see how it's all built and how it all ends up looking. But definitely very excited to see, like I said, how it turns out.
All right, coming up after the break, we're previewing the upcoming series with the Toronto Blue Jays.
You're watching Covering the Bases with the A's.
Welcome to fabulous Las Vegas, where the lights never dim and the energy never fades. The sports and entertainment capital of the world. But it wasn't always that way. This is a city that's mastered the art of reinvention. So why not do it again? A's baseball is coming to Las Vegas in 2028. They say good things come to those who wait, but we're not here to be good. We're here to be great, and we're not waiting. The Neon City is about to shine even brighter and a whole lot greener. Every day, every play. This patch is more than a statement, it's a promise. Las Vegas, we're coming.
A's fans get priority access to purchase season tickets in Las Vegas for just $19.01. Now current A's season ticket members, Aviators season ticket holders, as well as Clark County residents who secure their spot on the priority access list will receive purchase priority ahead of the general fan. For more, visit athletics.com/Vegas. Now, after the Braves, the A's are set to take on the Blue Jays for another 3-game homestand. Now, Toronto is currently in first place in the AL East, and they are red hot. As we're taping this on Wednesday, the Blue Jays are currently on a 10-game win streak. Now, unfortunately, the A's will likely have to face 3 quality starters in Max Scherzer, Kevin Gausman, and Jose Berrios. The last time the A's faced the Blue Jays was back in May, and the 4-game series was a sweep. But when you talk about the Blue Jays, of course, you got to talk about the trio of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., George Springer, and Bo Bichette. Now that's a wrap on this edition of Covering the Bases with the A's. For Kevin and the rest of the team here, I'm Mike Davis. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back next week. Until then, be good and go A's.